So happy exploring. Do give it a try. Should you are stuck with anything, do reach out for help. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, announcing the arrival of Yang Berbahagia Datuk Dr. Awang Adik Husin, Chairman, Board of Governors, University Science Malaysia, accompanied by Yang Berbahagia Professor Datuk Dr. Faisal Rafiq Muhammad Adikan, Vice Chancellor, University Science Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly remain standing for our national anthem, Negaraku, and our pride, Menara Ilmu.
University Science Malaysia, menara ilmu tercinta, jadi tumpuan antara bangsa untuk segala cita-cita. Berinovasi, berteknologi, berwawasan, berkualiti. Biar usaha kami bersemi, hasratnya berseri. University Science Malaysia, menara ilmu tercinta, jadi tumpuan antara bangsa untuk segala cita-cita.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may all be seated. Thank you. Let us bring our attention to the USM's transformation video.
Today, at the dawn of a new day, 1 in 5 live on less than $1 a day. Where clean water is scarce, where healthcare is limited, where even one meal is hard to find, a brighter future can seem an impossible dream. But we can make a difference to the things that matter. Today, I will make a difference. Today, I will nurture them. Today, I will transform them in their every day, every song, every life, every dream, and every seed of hope. For them, their children, and their children's children. A brighter tomorrow awaits. Through the power of our commitment, today we will make a difference.
To begin with, I would like to call upon Yang Berusaha Encik Muhammad Shukri bin Osman, Director, Islamic Center, University Science Malaysia, to recite the doa.
الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. وقال ربكم ادعوني أستجب لكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد طب القلوب ودوائها وعافية الأبدان وشفائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما. Allahumma ya Allah ya Rahman ya Rahim, berkatilah majlis kami pada hari ini ya Allah, dari awal hingga akhirnya ya Allah. Mudahkanlah segala urusan kami ya Allah. Ganjarilah segala usaha kami untuk menjayakan ICAP Engagement Session 2022. Jadikanlah usaha kami asbab kebaikan ya Allah, untuk menjayakan dan mentransformasikan masyarakat dan komuniti dalam firman-Mu ya Allah. Wa ta'awanu 'alal birri wat taqwa wa la ta'awanu 'alal itsmi wal 'udwan. Allahumma ya Allah ya Rahman ya Rahim, berkatilah kepimpinan Universiti Sains Malaysia dan seluruh pasukan. Yang berbahagia Datuk Dr. Awang Adik Hussein, Chairman of University Governance Board, dan yang berbahagia Profesor Datuk Dr. Faisal Rafiq Muhammad Adikan, Vice Chancellor University Sains Malaysia. Allahumma afina min kulli bala'i dunya wa 'adzabil akhirah. Allahumma inna na'udzubika minal junun wal juzam wal baras wa min sayyi'il asqam. Rabbana 'alaika tawakkalna wa ilaika anabna wa ilaikal masir. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina 'adzaban nar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Thank you. Yang berbahagia Datuk Dr. Awang Adik Hussein, Chairman, Board of Governors, University Science Malaysia. Yang berusaha Mr. Nur Azam Muhammad Nur, Member, Board of Governors, University Science Malaysia. Yang berbahagia Profesor Datuk Dr. Faisal Rafiq Muhammad Adikan, Vice Chancellor, University Science Malaysia. Deputy Vice Chancellors of University Science Malaysia. Yang berbahagia Profesor Datuk IR Dr. Abdul Rahman Muhammad, Research and Innovation. Yang berbahagia Profesor Datuk Dr. Narimah Samad, Academic and International. Yang berusaha Profesor Dr. Azlinda Azman, Student Development Affairs and Alumni. Yang berusaha Profesor Dr. Muhammad Roslan Hashim, Sustainability and Institutional Development. Distinguished guests from Talent Corp, MIDA, and NCER, Honorable ICAP members, Principal Officers, Head of Departments, staff, students of University Science Malaysia, and all attendees. Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. Welcome to Dewan Budaya. Welcome on board University Science Malaysia. Here we are, gathered today, united on a beautiful Monday for a prosperous reason. Industry, community, advisory panel, ICAP, engagement session 2022, prosperity of research and innovation for USM, the role of ICAP. I am Suzila, blessed and humbled to be the MC of the day. As with the current norm, it is my pleasure to constantly remind all attendees to observe strict social distancing at all times. We live by each other and for each other. Alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much. This powerful quote by Helen Keller will forever stand the test of time. When we work together on a common goal, and we can achieve things beyond our greatest imagination. This is especially true if our intentions are real and the purpose is for the greater good. Relatedly, the principal objectives of an ICAP are to enhance collaboration and engagement between a school or center with the relevant industry or community in areas of teaching and learning, consultancy services, continuing education, research and development, shared facilities, and joint community projects and programs. University, community, industry. 3 significant entities, 1 shared engagement. Well, we may all wonder, where do we start? How do ICAP do that? If I may suggest, we shall all begin simply by asking, I am an ICAP, how can I help? A simple phrase, yet potentially magical. Without further ado, I would cordially invite Yang Berbahagia Datuk Dr. Awang Adik Husin, Chairman, Board of Governors, University Science Malaysia, to render the opening remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera dan berbahagia Profesor Datuk Dr. Faizal Rafiq Mengadikan Vice Chancellor University Science Malaysia, Encik Norat Ahli Lembaga Governor USM, Yang berbahagia Profesor Datuk Insinyur Dr. Abdul Rahman Muhammad, Timbalan Naib Chancellor Research and Innovation, Timbalan Naib Chancellor, Honorable ICAP members, Dev jemputan, Datuk-datuk, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan sekalian. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning and welcome to ICAP Engagement Session 2022. I would like to thank you all for joining us here today and for being part of this momentous event. Your presence is very meaningful to us. We truly appreciate ICAP members who have willingly accepted the appointment to be on the USM Industry Advisory Board for a 3-year period. We hope to lean on your expertise and experience to make USM a better university. We know you'll be able to contribute significantly to the development of USM with your ideas and insights. I'm sure our collaborations will be beneficial to USM in promoting experience-based education and making USM a unique and prestigious institution. On behalf of USM, I wish to express our deepest appreciation to all ICAP members who are senior industry leaders with their busy commitments leading their companies and yet willing to give time to USM. Your commitment is a clear testimony that you are willing to give back to society and to the next generation of industry players. We truly appreciate your sacrifices. This shows that you appreciate good education and talent development by sharing with our students some of your real-life job experience. USM is so lucky to be benefiting from your participation, and this is one way for USM to stay ahead of the curve in an increasingly challenging learning and teaching environment. I would also like to recognize the USM Division of Research and Innovation and the Division of Industry and Community Network for organizing ICAP Engagement Session 2022. Also, thank you to all the units who have been working closely with them throughout the event preparation. Ladies and gentlemen, ICAP has been established more than 15 years ago in USM. It was known initially as Industry Advisory Panel, and in April 2011, the university decided to expand the panel to include experienced and knowledgeable individuals from the community and rebranded it as Industry Community Advisory Panel, ICAP. The objectives are to enhance collaboration and engagement between USM and the relevant industry community in areas of teaching and learning, consultancy services, continuing education, R&D, shared facilities, and joint community projects and programs. Over the past 15 years, USM has achieved many successes with our ICAP program. Some of our success stories include our collaboration with Osram Opto Semiconductors, Malaysia Sdn Bhd. USM and Osram partnership was established since 2009. i.e. collaborative research in engineering, science, and technology. The establishment of this synergistic platform has strategically positioned USM as a pioneer academia and brought us closer and more connected with the E&E sector. We have also learned a lot from our industry partners, and this has been instrumental in enhancing and shaping our academic programs, research, technology transfer, and most importantly, in developing our talents. Ladies and gentlemen, we are meeting today at a time when the worst scenario for the pandemic is likely to be over. Our vaccination rate is among the highest in the world. Our booster program is actively ongoing. While the incidences of COVID-19 are still high, most have recovered with minimal symptoms. The Vice Chancellor and I have had our own COVID-19 recently, and we have recovered well, as you can see. Thanks to our booster shots, and we are now more brave to engage. Understandably, the COVID-19 SOPs are being relaxed, the economic sectors are all open, and the country will be open to increasing international travels in the near future. We at USM are bracing for a new normal to prevail, to continue on with our pursuit of providing quality education to a large group of 34,000 students located on numerous campuses. USM is now ranked #1 in Malaysia in Global University Employability Ranking and #1 in Malaysia in Global Impact Ranking. USM attracted the highest number of international intake in 2021 at 2,752 students, compared with 1,581 students for the second place university. USM is the only apex university in Malaysia with its well-known transdisciplinary research initiatives that give greatest impact to the society. Therein lies the importance of USMs to stay connected to the industry and community. And the importance of ICAP initiative cannot be overemphasized. Indeed, our approach has been to engage and involve industry together on projects from the get-go to ensure that we align our direction and efforts to cater to industry needs at the early stage. I believe we are on the right track, and with the help of industries, we hope to be able to work together and exploit new opportunities from the 12th Malaysia Plan in particular, which has highlighted numerous strategies to boost the E&E sector. Likewise, everyone in USM must be fully committed to follow through and be supportive of USM industry collaborations. The senior management of USM, deans and directors, must play their roles in reciprocating the generous efforts and commitments by ICAP members. We must welcome and be appreciative of the industry experts and advisors for the creation of knowledge and technology development. Our engagement with ICAP members must be continuous and not seasonal. While we focus on our students' technical and scientific skills, our students must also be equipped with soft skill set, including proper communication skills and of good character. They need to be multilingual because of many of our partners are multinational companies. Our students must be trained and inculcated with good old USM values of intelligence, hard work, and integrity. And without integrity, our years of training may be a failure. Thank you. Semoga USM terus berjaya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Datuk. Next, let us bring it on with the updates on University Science Malaysia from our none other, one and ever, most insightful Vice Chancellor, Professor Datuk Dr. Faisal Rafiq Muhammad Adikan. The floor is all yours, Datuk.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. Thank you so much, Dr. Suzy. It's not going to be one and ever. My term will end in October. And we might receive a new VC, so it's not going to be one and ever. Thank you so much again. First and foremost, I'd like to again second what my chairman has said. Thank you so much for everyone for spending time today for this ICAP engagement. Needless to say, I'm extremely nervous. I remember we had our first ICAP 2 years ago around this time. And I was nervous then, but I had an excuse. The excuse was I was only 4 months into my job, so I can claim that I'm ignorant to a certain extent. Fast forward 2 years, we are here today. So I'm guessing you'll be expecting some updates, whether we've listened to you carefully, whether we've made some of the adjustments, whether we've made some of the modifications. And I couldn't sleep last night, simply because of that, one. Second, we've invited all the deans and directors to be here as well, dean of directors from USM. And the third, we have our chairman here today. So, yes. And I think I'd like to start with, every time you read the news with regards to industries expanding, the Intels, the Microns, and new industries coming to Penang, for example, as VC, I always meet that with a mixed emotion in the sense that as a Malaysian, I'm extremely happy that industries are still favoring Malaysia and creating jobs and the necessary economic activities. But at the same time, as VC, I feel the pressure of us having to continue to supply the talents, whether we are up for the job, whether we are actually the Achilles heel that prevents industries to expand. So for today, we've prepared 50 slides, but I'm not going to go through all 50. It will take, half a day. We have a number of things to address. First and foremost, obviously, if our ICAP members have played their role, and I'm going to provide the updates to see, for you to judge whether we've actually been listening and whether we've done a number of things that you've suggested. The second is I'd like to highlight a few experiments that we've done. And these experiments and investments are done in preparation for us to, in a way, elevate and increase the effort to align with industries and increase our efficiency in providing the talents necessary. And the third is, I'd like to share with everyone our ambition in providing you with quality graduates, with more graduates at half of the time. And for that to work, I think we have to meet halfway. There must be investments from both sides of the coin, both the university and also from the industry. So if you can bear with me. Just for those of you who are new to USM, we are 34,000 students strong. We have 10,000 staff, and our budget exceeds the Penang state budget. It's about 1.3 billion a year. And we are located in a number of places. Here in the main campus, we have the engineering campus in Ibung Tebal. We have one campus in Pertam, IPPT, which is, we envision the IPPT will be the Mayo Clinic of Malaysia with regards to research, and we're actually focusing on cancer, for example. And we have our Kubang Krian campus, the teaching hospital. and we also have science at Alostar, and we have science at Kuala Lumpur. We also have an offshore program for medical, for medicine in India. I can see the spread of the ethnicity of our students. We like to improve on that in terms of Orang Asli and also disabled special needs students. And the numbers speaks for themselves. There are more females compared to male students. I think we are the only university at this point of time that actually have explicitly mentioned ESG commitments. These are early days, and we would like to work with industries to see if we can actually make this work. So one of the things that we are, USM is known for our commitment to sustainability. We did extremely well in terms of electrification. If you notice, we've embarked on a solar project. We are the largest university at this point of time that is actually employing solar on rooftop at about 10.6 meg. I was told that the reduction of about 10,000 tons of carbon equivalent is similar to removing 2,000 cars from the road this last year. So that's not bad. What we're not doing well is in terms of water consumption. For some reason, I don't know why USM or Penangai in general use a lots of water. I think the national average is about 160 liters per person per day. That was actually the target, or 140 liters. And we are averaging about 220 liters per person per day. So when one goes to the shower, that person really showers. We are not diverting any of our waste away from public landfill, and this is something that we want to address in the next 2 years. We've been talking with SW Corp, and hopefully we can actually divert that and perhaps convert some of them into biogas. In terms of social, this is we're extremely proud of the fact that 25% of the top management are female, and our HOD is the middle management, 164 of them, 43% are female. So in that sense, it's not bad. We have about 108 special needs students, and our HUSM actually treats about close to 400,000 actually, including the outpatient. And we have a number of governance in place with regards to ESG commitment. We have the Kelestarian Majlis Pusat Kelestarian CGSS, and a number of policies with regards to sustainability and so on. Right. So that's a general introduction of USM. So I've divided this talk into 3 major parts. I think one is in terms of what have we done with regards to producing quality graduates and programs, and with the hope that you can see some avenues where you can actually come in and actually help us. The second is in terms of creating academia that actually speaks the language of industry, who actually works around tight deadlines and who are aligned with regards to their research and work to be applied to industries, so that we can actually increase the value chain of our industries. So, the chairman has mentioned quite a number of things there. During COVID, it's very interesting to see that our number of international students have grown compared to other institutions by 30%. We are currently the highest among all institutions of higher learning, public and private universities. So we have about 100 private universities and about 20 public universities. And that is something that we welcome this because it creates diversity. By the way, one of our head departments, one of our deans is an Orang Asli, and another director is an international staff. Again, that it shows our commitment with regards to diversity. The international staff is probably the first in the history of USM. But I think I'd like to highlight the 7% increase in STEM student intake since 2021. So this last year, we've actually opened up a number of positions, especially in terms of engineering, science, courses or programs, but unfortunately we don't see the demand. It's beyond our circle of influence, if you like. It's beyond our circle of authority or influence. It is a concern. If we increase it by 7%, it's not impressive. But we saw some courses having difficulties trying to look for qualified STEM applicants. I think back in 2017, the national number for places for degree in science subject was about 20,000, and I don't think nationally we meet that number, whereas the non-sciences, the number of positions advertised were also 20-odd thousand, and the demand was about 30-odd thousand. So this is something that is, I think, both academia and industry are facing. Can't claim that we know what's the solution for that. We've had engagement with schools, boarding schools, for example, but I think the number has not been improving. So something that we share in terms of the problem. That's the number that the chairman has mentioned. So this is a slide that I'd like to, again, draw attention to. In the space of 2 years, during the pandemic years, we've actually reviewed 64 of our programs, and mainly from your feedback, and actually we've actually frozen 14 of them. We've actually shelved 14 of our undergraduate programs for that to be reviewed further. And we actually track graduate employability, whether people are actually subscribing to those programs. And I have to say, it wasn't an easy exercise. Obviously, people wish to maintain their programs and whatnot. And we've introduced new master's program, 9 new master's program, and 22 executive and professional training. There's a reason for this, and I will summarize that at the end of this presentation. What we saw as well as everyone was affected by the pandemic, but we've decided to use our own money to fund our students for internship. Typically, in a year, we send about 2,000 plus of our students for internship from the 4,000 that we actually bring in. And from that 2,000, typically about 20% will end up in MNCs. About 30% will end up in SMEs, 35%, and some will end up in NGOs and governmental sectors. So during the pandemic, SMEs were badly affected. So we decided that, okay, you have the space, you continue to train our students, but we'll pay for them. So you don't have to pay for them. And I think this is probably why our graduate employability is probably one of the highest last year. So 1.35 million. We've also begun a program where students can do their intern since their first year. We call it intern in USM. So they get exposure to the working conditions very early. And again, I'm here imparting this message that perhaps you want to consider that as well, in the sense that we can expose our students very early in their first year or second year. So we spend about 1.35 million, and I think if we have to spend more to make sure that more students go to internship for a longer time, then we'll do so. It's extremely important, and I think also we want to open the opportunities for our growing number of international students as well. It's one of the biggest feedback that we receive from our international students, that they find it difficult to find internship positions. So we try to bypass that by actually sponsoring them as well. So this is the graduate employability. As you can see, except for 2018, we are higher than the national average. And I think among the larger universities, the comprehensive universities that offer both science and non-science programs that have about 4,000 or more intake, 19.5% means that 90.5% of our students who graduate, we actually graduate about 5,000 plus last year, and 6,000 plus last year. 90.5% of them secured a job within 6 months of them graduating. Now, having said that, we are actually analyzing this to get more granularity, because we know that from that 90.5%, at least 40 or 50% will end up working in an area that they are not trained in. We're actually looking at underemployment, how many of them actually have secured skilled jobs, how many of the students who graduate actually find jobs in Penang, Perak, Kedah, Perlis, the northern region, and so on and so forth. We're also looking at how many of the B40 students, B1, B2 students managed to secure a job, and so on and so forth. So B40 is people who come from a household or income of about 4,000 plus. So as a social mobility institution, we must make sure that, one, the overlap in terms of jobs with the area that students were trained in improves. And of course, we are tracking in terms of the average pay as well. I noticed that due to the talent competition, those students who are actually trained in the area that is in demand, they're actually fetching up to 4,500 ringgit in terms of their starting salary, which is way above average for a typical engineer, for example. And I think if we have to open the door for more students to come in, to do justice to both industry and nation as well. And we've done quite a number of things to make sure that they get the experience of 70% of our students are B40, meaning to say from the 15,000 undergraduates full-time that we have, 70% come from poor families. And we want to give them, in these 4 years, we want to enrich their experience. So we're opening the doors for them with all these facilities. We upgraded rooms as well, and our alumni have come forth to actually sponsor rooms. Each room will cost about 5,000 to 10,000 for them to be spruced up. Going from then to now doesn't take much. And of course, we have actually increased the rate, the monthly rate, but all these rooms are filled up. I mean, the demand is there, and we will continue doing this. One of the things that we also open up is an experience center. We call it Minden 1100. So you see that there's VR and AR. Some of our programs have actually began using virtual reality and also augmented reality. And in USM, this is the only place that cryptocurrency can be accepted. So these are things that we want to experiment in. We have to invest on things that address the current demands, show progress with regards to a typical university progress, but we also have to put in money to invest on the future, the metaverse and all those things to understand that. And we have this now in USM, main campus, and we're actually extending it to other campuses as well. And one of the things that you will receive as future employers would be this Hebat CV. So we've, we try to balance between values and also technical ability. We want to produce upstanding citizens, first and foremost, and also competent students. So we've embarked on this Hebat initiative. This was mooted 5-6 years ago. Now, when they graduate, all USM students will have this CV, which you can refer to, and this is blockchain, so you can actually check the authenticity of this CV as well. And I hope that this would help in terms of judging whether this is someone that you want for your institution. And we've looked at the symbiosis between USM and industry, and I think a lot of industries have played a fantastic role in terms of capstone projects and final year projects. But I think the number for co-supervision of masters and PhD can be improved. I think there's a lot of practitioners out there who are experts in their field, which could help in terms of us aligning our academics to do work that is industry relevant as well. And typically a master's or a PhD student can have as many co-supervisors as they would like to, although we try to limit it to 3 or 4. I think this is something that we are moving towards. The aim is to have 50% of our research projects, masters and PhD, to be industry aligned. I'll talk about that a bit more. And we've also implemented this thing called gig economy hiring, in the sense that we actually employ people on freelance basis. They don't have to be here physically, but they can actually play a major role in terms of our teaching, in terms of our research. We call that gig, and we actually appoint people for 1 year. And with this has expanded our recruitment to cover 20-odd countries. So again, creating diversity. And this is an open invitation for everyone. If you have engineers to spare or anyone from your institution to spare, can be our gig economists, then by all means. It will go through our deans, and we have a lot of help from some of them. Some of them actually have set up startup, spin-off, work with large international companies. They come in, they advise us on creating a number of ecosystems, including our spin-off and startup. Okay, that's the first thing, in the sense that I think I was trying to impart that, yes, we've actually taken your feedback, we've actually done something about it, and we've reviewed our programs, and this is also shown in terms of our graduate employability, which has improved tremendously. The next is, these are things that we've experimented in the past 2 years, with one thing in mind in the future. And let me just say that in the future, I think we expect to see 50% of our students would not be here. They would probably pursue their first 2 years here in USM, and then the next 2 years they will go and join you, and they can pursue their degree while they work and receive training from your institution. This can be done, and the experiments that we've done has shown that we are prepared in terms of the platform, in terms of the mechanics, in terms of addressing some teething issues. And I think this is if there's one takeaway point from this engagement is this, which is we want to embark on this new idea where they get to you quicker, whether in the second year or the third year. And we can use technology to address the remainder of their academic training. So these are some of the things that we've done. We noticed that when students come in, there's no leveling of the playing field. They just go to all the 70-odd programs, and we don't have a standard product. So some people will say USM graduates are good, perhaps because of the program, right? And some people will say USM graduates are not good, they're not articulate, perhaps because of the certain program, the way that some programs are structured. So what we attempted to do was we actually tried to say, okay, you know what, come into USM, let's break the monotony. We're going to give you a course that will make you a citizen first, and there's no exams. We employ this experiential point. And what we taught them before they enter any of the programs are, one, sense of life, is that, then I'm not sure if you can see it, which is basically financial literacy. Discovering living labs, we have 3 assets that are unique to USM. One, we have an archaeological site, which is about 5,000 years old. We have one, our personal beach next to the national forest, if you like. And we also have, in engineering, a water management lab, if you like. So we expose them to that. Innovative thinking, they do both computational thinking and design thinking. By the way, this is open to all students. So, and so even if you take medicine, you still have to know computational or design thinking. You have to have financial literacy. We taught all the participants for this program genes and genomics and gerontology, so that they become compassionate. By 2030, Malaysia is an aged society, so to actually tell them that this is coming, you have to be compassionate. We teach them grit, so that they have better mental strength. We teach them SDGs and also Hebat. And so 300 of them were involved. We spent about 1,000 on each of them. 50% from B40, there are international students there as well, and we received a lot of help from the industries as well. And no exams, a lot of group work, a lot of experiments, hands-on, and it worked brilliantly. I think some of those students from engineering, for example, felt that they want to do something about genomics and gerontology. And of course, our aim is to introduce this to all 4,000 new intakes, so that even before they embark on their programs, they discover themselves first. I mean, that is, again, philosophically, that is the role of the university in a way. So let them ask and let them discover themselves. But we don't have the money to do so. We need about 4 million to do this. And again, we will welcome a lot of help from the industries if you can. But in order for the 2 years in a university and 2 years in the industry to work, we are actually thinking about midlife. The same thing, but we have to squeeze this before they go into their 3rd year, before they go off for their internship. And if this plan works, then this is the point where you can come and interview our students and take on some of them to start doing their degree while they are working with you. So after this midlife. So midlife, what are we looking at? We're thinking about teaching our students or exposing our students circular economy and poverty. All things future, blockchain and metaverse, and perhaps some geopolitics as well. 18 years old, being able to vote, so I thought we would probably do a bit of a help in the sense that, making sure that they have the worldview and they are mature in their decision making as well. So this will probably be implemented, and if the ideas work, then you can form your own company. It's open to any students. You can see the 5 winners. 4 of them were led by women, young women, and they work in a lot of things. They do product development, they do social enterprise. Jenny Wong, for example, was very into preventing suicide. One of her colleagues actually committed suicide, and she felt very strongly about that. And this is for helpline purposes. And I think a number of them are actually out there actually trying to raise more funding. And finally, two other things that we've actually introduced. This is called Bridge. Bridge is actually, we want to be the Grab of education, in the sense that if you have content, you can actually upload into the Bridge platform, and our academics will actually look at the viability or the validity of the content, and if it's okay, then we can actually put that out there for people to actually subscribe to. So the idea is that USM becomes the platform to democratize knowledge, inherent knowledge that you have as well, that you are willing to share. And hopefully one day, USM students, when they take Management 101, for example, when they come to a topic called, let's say, HR, they have at least 4 or 5 of these Bridge topics to choose from different companies. And if they want to be exposed to more, they have to pay for a minimal amount to use this. So we've invested in this. Again, this is something to do with regards to people being able to pursue their degree while they are, working, or whenever they want to finish their degree, they want to actually pick and mix their degree as well. USM is the leader in Malaysia when it comes to micro-credential. The person who's been advocating this is here in the crowd as well, Prof. Karim. Again, this is for the future, in the sense that someone wants to take different courses, they can take that, they earn a badge, just like you earn a scout badge, and then eventually that will end up as a degree or as a competency kind of a document. And I think moving forward, perhaps industries will be comfortable in doing that as well, based on the competency rather than waiting for them to earn the full degree. So these are the investments that we've been doing. A lot of traction already. A lot of people are happy to do this. So that's all on the investment for students. Again, one is on the programs, second on the investments to prepare the platform so that they can actually do things online, they don't have to be here physically, but also in terms of creating upstanding and holistic students. There's another part of the equation, which is the academics. I mean, most of the industries will be relying on deans and the academics as the glue, as the bridge between industry and academia. So what we've done in the past few years, I argued with my staff that in order for research to be meaningful to industries, applied research, someone has to be consistent, our academia has to be consistent in producing research outcome. And in academia, research outcome are measured in terms of the technical papers that our academics produce. But I'd like to draw your attention to the blue line, which is the Q1 and Q2. Q1, Q2 are the top, Q1 is the top 25% journals, and Q2 is 50% and above. What the graph is saying is that the quality of the research being conducted by USM Academia has increased tremendously over the years. So about 50% of our publication are in the top journals, which will draw attention from international collaborators, which form a strong basis if someone were to pivot and do applied research, because this person have a history of delivering, if you like. The same goes with citation, in the sense that do people, when we do research, do people actually refer to our research? And you look at this citation, it has actually increased almost exponentially. We've crossed the 100,000 barrier for citation. So our work here are being cited, our work are actually being, are contributing to the body of knowledge. So what we do next is we try to actually now push some of them to think like the industry and to work like industry. So we've introduced this startup and spin-off. I remember 2 years ago, I mentioned this. And I said, well, in the next 2 years, we aim to produce, I can't remember the number, I think it was 20 spin-off, and someone in the audience said, you'll be lucky to form 5, right? So fast forward 2 years, we now have about 17 spin-offs. Some of them have been very profitable. These are all the spin-offs. But I have to also admit that it has been a very steep learning curve. A lot of academics find it very difficult to speak along the, using the terms that businesses speaks with. So we had to do lots of coaching, lots of engagement with these academics who wants to form their company, and it covers quite a lot of things. We are strong in aerospace. We have Space In to develop satellites, vision analytics, use AI and image processing for more efficient manufacturing processes, for example, IoT and so on. A number of them are deep tech in nature. Astra Medical is actually producing portable AI-driven ventilators, which is very COVID relevant. And again, I think we've actually increased the funding for spin-offs up this year to 525,000. We give up to 50,000 seed funding, and they can go on and actually look for more pre-com funding. At some point, USM will open its door to this platform for people who wants to come in and be the investor. We're trying to still tweak some of the mechanical issues that we have internally. But again, I think the recent exercise, there were at least a dozen new applicants, and we're actually, again, learning from this. And hopefully one day, we have 1 or 2 companies set up by students from our pitch initiative. Our I2U is there, operational, and there are some, the spaces are taken up. We're actually strategically putting our postgraduates there. It's mainly for EE, for chip design, and all those things. And of course, moving forward, these are not necessarily popular policies, but we're actually making it compulsory for our academics to go to industries, NGO, or ministries in their second sabbatical. So we are forcing the issue, and I hope that you are willing to accept our academics who want to go to industries, who want to work with NGOs, and for their second sabbatical, so that they get a more comprehensive view of the whole field. We're moving towards reviewing our promotion criteria so that there's alignment with regards to national agenda and industrial needs when it comes to assessing performance of our academics. And we no longer support carbon positive research, so every research we have to ask whether this is a carbon positive research, whether it will pollute the environment and so on and so forth. We might make some exceptions if there are greater benefit to the research. And we are now in the middle of our 2022-2024 strategic plan development, which again, afterwards, when you have this interaction with our deans, perhaps the feedback will be fed into our strategic plan moving forward. So that's the second part. I think I'll finish in about 5 or 10 minutes. Students, programs, investment, staff, academic staff. The third is just a bit on I don't approve of the manager. This is not my choice of a football team and manager. This is the person who made the slide. He knows the team that I support. Fortunately, it's not the team that this team defeated last night. So I know a lot of people are Manchester United supporter. There's a point to this. We're making this nest for our students, for incubators, and we are investing in our. This is Science at KL. It's for our master's program for part-timers. This is in Persiaran KLCC. But the point I would like to make is this. USM is opening its door for this sort of collaboration. We have acres and acres of land in engineering here in the main campus. It's a bit limited here in Batam. And this field, for example, we've done it on a concession basis, in the sense that it doesn't cost USM a single cent. The operator build this facility, operate, maintain, and charge commercial rate from 6 p.m. all the way to 2 in the morning and throughout the weekend. We get to use this, our students get to use this for free in our own time slot. And we have the same arrangement with our solar project, solar on rooftop, not a single cent from USM, but we have savings for about 3 million a year. We expect to have that. And we will soon have a ground satellite station in engineering, 2 acres of land. We are working with Angkasa X. And I think, again, the current mood now is that we are opening our doors for you to set up. And I think one of the things that I personally would like to see, and I've spoken this with Encik Azam, one of our board members, is that if we can bring the industries to USM, your manufacturing plant, so that students can actually see and feel how things are. I'm sure you upgrade your manufacturing plant, you have things to throw away, and I think if you can set a mini plant in engineering or in the main campus, then students can get extremely valuable exposure to how things work out there. Again, land is not an issue, although we have issues with wild boars in engineering. They're multiplying, but other than that, we're okay. We are expecting to see about 50 million ringgit worth of development in engineering in Ibu Tebal. For mixed development, also a new student hostel. And these are the things that I think my chairman has mentioned as well. You've been extremely, extremely supportive. We thank you for that. We appreciate that. And I think we can do more. So these are the examples that has been mentioned by our chairman. A lot of USM matching grants with companies, Vitrox, Renaissance, Micron, funding of 1 million for students, scholarship, masters and students, Boston Scientific and Upsilon Builders, and NI has been a long-standing partner as well. We've been very active with regards to the Penjana programs, and again, Western Digital. And we do have double tax deduction, and our staff in hand to talk more about this. We can have business matching grant, we have lab on demand, industrial paid final year project, R&D activities, and also industrial grants as well. So these can be tax deductible. Finally, my second last slide. So I've mentioned a couple of things in terms of what's in it for you in that sense. So students, staff, and I think again I'd like to reiterate that one of the things that we want to work very aggressively is, I think the key for us to be able to match your demand, to continue to be an active part of nation building. We are in a lot of networks, we are in CRES, we are in NCR and whatnot. If I were to go to those meetings, I always feel there's a lot of pressure on myself, as we see, because again, I don't want us to be the Achilles heel to prevent your expansion. I think the key is to supply as many talent, quality talent, but we have to cut the timing down. We can't wait for 4 years. It's just not going to happen. I think, with the massive investment that comes from, again, Intel is putting lots, Infineon, a number of industries, and there are industries coming from China, industries coming from Austria as well. I think if we can do this, right, I think this would help the nation. And it will not be, we can absorb, we can double the number of students, we can be involved in upskilling. Again, what we do is that we can implement live, and then they go into their 2 years, we do early internship, they can intern in USM, they're involved in competition, they have this Hebat agenda implemented on them. And then we do midlife, and at that point, before they go into the 3rd year, you can come in and actually see what are the talents you are interested in. And we are also planning to work with other universities in Penang at the very least. And we will make full use of the Pitch platform, the Bridge platform, the micro-credential, the online or hybrid learning. And this will also be supported by academics, the growing number of academics in USM who do good research and also industry aligned. And if we can do this, I think we are going somewhere. I think we are on a second trajectory. And I think if we can also, it can be three years here and 1 year in industry. And again, in that ecosystem, if students get more exposure, they don't have to go to you, you can come to us, park your equipment here, we are open. We are opening our doors to public, we have to serve the community as well. That football field, although it is a football field, but it forced USM to open her door until 2 or 3 in the morning. We see lots of people coming in for social league. So the air is changing in that sense. The air is a bit of more engagement, more conversation, and we are willing to listen. And I hope that the less than 1 hour that I've taken to present this have shown that USM has actually made progress, and I would like to continue doing that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dato'. My correction, so one and ever. All right, you are forever in the limelight, Dato'. So if you don't mind to stay upstage for a bit. We are now open for Q&A. Having heard them all, we value any expression of views and thoughts from members of the floor. Should you have any queries or concern which you might want Dato' himself to address, let this be the time. So for that, I would like to invite any one of you to kindly proceed to the nearest mic available, stating your name and designation, and pose your question. So are we ready, Dato'?
Well, if I cannot answer, I can ask any of the deans to answer as well.
Definitely, we have your back. So,
okay.
Anyone?
Any suggestions? Any?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dato' Doctor. My name is Osman bin Mat Yusof. I'm from Nestle. So thank you for inviting me into this. I'm already reaching my end of my service with Nestle. For this year, I'm 60 years old. I'm supposed to retire already 5 years ago, but you know, the choice is you can retire at 60. And the company is extending my contract again. But obviously at this, I would like to contribute back to the society, whatever, in whichever I can. So I have 34 years experience working with Nestle. My position right now is the Head of Halal Affairs for Nestle, and also the Chairman of Nestle Halal Committee. My background is food science and technology. I studied here in Penang Free School, and then I went to UPM to do food science and technology. And I started in Nestle way back in 1988. So my first job in Nestle was to make noodles, instant noodles. So I make really good noodles, you know. So after 2 years with the company as a shift supervisor, I worked through the shift. I work very hard. I work different than other people, meaning I make sure that I know every single thing in the plant. And then I become the manager of the production plant. I have about 400 people under me. And after 3 years doing this, taking care of this plant, the company, at that time I'm already for Nestle like the specialist for instant noodle. But 1 year after I joined Nestle, I was already, because Nestle started halal very long time ago. So in fact, at that time, the Halal Committee is already up and running, so I was taken into the Halal Committee. So my real job at that time is a production manager, but I was also in the Halal Committee. Then 3 years later, the company decided to send me to overseas, to Switzerland, to their R&D center to take up the knowledge on pasta, Western pasta. So they're going to make somebody, that time they call East meets West. So they're developing somebody which has expertise in noodles, and on the other hand, also pasta. So then after a year in the R&D of pasta, I was put into the Nestle headquarters in Vevey in Switzerland to be the technical advisor for noodle and pasta. So you just imagine a Melayu going to the Mak Saleh ni, and to check and to approve, to endorse their pasta lines. So I have experience working all over the world. In fact, in Syria, in Turkey, and everywhere in Europe and so on. So my point here, I have so much of this, and the MC said so much about you, and when you have spoken there, I think what I have in mind, much has been covered by you. What I think when a student goes into the industry, sometimes because they went late, because they come, like myself also, I went to study in the university. Then at the end, I went to for practical training, and that's it. But maybe because of my nature from young, I like to know, I like to learn things. So after MCE at that time, I already work in the industry. I work in 2 factories in what you call Mandin. So the reason is I can acquire some knowledge from the industry. So now what I want to say to you, first you mentioned about the early engagement. So maybe they could go after a year in the university, already they can expose themselves into the industry, and then they can come back here, or you can make some arrangement how even during that time they are reporting back to the university, and then maybe towards the end, because the end, the final semester is the time that when they are really good, the industry would like to take them in straight away. They don't want to delay, So normally when you have, and then they have to go back to study and so on, and then they have to come back. So the last semester, the final semester, end of the year is good to have their internship again. So you can make it in 2 portions, early and then later. The good thing also, they can relate when they study here, they come back. When people talk about, I can relate the food industry. For example, they talk about HACCP, and they know the real HACCP, what is happening in the industry.
Yep.
So the lecturer must be more prepared then there will be more questions. Then they can relate what is, To me, if you ask me today, the industry is like a battlefield out there. Every day, in the factory, a lot of challenges. So if you are not prepared on all this, they might be okay with the theory, everything, when they go into the industry, but when the challenges came, then they cannot stand it. So that is why you see after a while, you have a lot of turnover. People cannot stand, cannot go through the challenges. So without the challenges, if everything is smooth sailing, maybe there's no problem. But when and then another thing, maybe you can have programs to make them very resilient.
Yeah.
So ask them to maybe watch movies like, Unbroken, the movie Unbroken, you see. Yeah. So like that, strong, solid steel, that they are really prepared themselves to go through whatever changes that they have.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate
Right.
it. I'll take that as a feedback. What we saw from our students is that they're not lacking in information, but they just cannot connect information to become knowledge.
Sorry.
So an early exposure to industry is, to me, I agree. And I think moving forward, in the next 4 or 5 years, I think our academics will become just to orchestrate the exposure. I think we're moving away from, if it's a 14-week semester, then the academics have to teach for 14 weeks. It's not going to happen that way anymore. They have to just, see to it that the students' experience, the source of knowledge can be taken from everywhere, including the industry as well. So this is a cultural shift that we're trying to do. And I think COVID taught us a lot of lessons as well in that sense. So we're taking advantage of that. But I do agree with whatever you said. Congratulations again on your fantastic achievement. You fed millions of Malaysians, especially those in boarding school, like myself. Okay. Any other question or feedback? Yeah. Yeah, so, Isman, you can.
So, okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First and foremost, I'd just like to congratulate you, Prof, for an excellent sharing of your performance over the last 2 years. And I must say, I've seen leaps and bounds in terms of how USM has grown over the years. And I must also applaud USM for one topic which you highlighted, and I've not seen many other universities have done so. This is in relation to ESG, environmental, social, and governance. Now, as an industry, I think Malaysia is coming in towards more understanding and discovery of ESG. You see many of that in the RMK 12, you see more of that in Wawasan Kemakmuran Bersama, and so on and so forth. But countries elsewhere in the world, they're already far ahead with respect to what ESG is doing. Now, Bank Negara, for one, is taking a very proactive steps. They are making sure that financial institutions do comply because they are obviously a regulator. So many of our investments, I'm not from the so-called financial institutions, but whatever our investment where we need, financial support coming from that industry, to some extent are also exposed to ESG compliance. But we are not here to talk about compliance, Prof. We are here to talk about how do we actually achieve it for the greater good of the planet and people. Now, one thing that even where I come from, where I operate the largest highway in Malaysia, Plus Highway. Now, this particular highway, to some extent, transcends the north to south over 1,000+ kilometers. So we transact in a situation where we deal with people with paddy fields of Kedah to the plantation of Johor. Now, one thing that we realize is this particular highway transcends very sensitive water catchment areas. And I think even for the state of Penang today, if you read the papers, the Chief Minister is having a tough time trying to make sure that water supply for Penang can be sustainable in the long term. Now, I think this is an opportunity for USM. In looking at water conservation, and secondly, it's also about waste management. Now, we talk about the sexy part about solar rooftop and so on, or even LSS, large-scale solar. Those are obviously very sexy in the sense that you can see. But I think let's not forget those important items, basic necessity that we need to do on a daily basis is water conservation and waste management. And here is, I must say, that this is an area where many industries have great difficulty in making sure we have a plan that is sustainable. We like to welcome in the event that USM is prepared to come in, and do more research along the Jajaran Leboraya. I think that's obviously an area that we like to really work on. I mean, I have budgets put aside. Either I pay to a consultant or I pay to USM. So that's obviously some business opportunity that you can think of.
Thank you.
All right. So I just want you to be mindful. ESG is an area which is very focused as the country works towards ensuring that we have a very sustainable future, not just for the society of today, but also for our future generations going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Assalamualaikum. Alhamdulillah. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you, Datuk Dr. Faisal. I'm quite impressed by your achievements and USM's achievements. I'm Norizam Hamzah. I'm an aerospace engineer by training and also by certification. I have been the Chief Technical Officer for Astronautic Technology for about 15 years, and my experience in space is over 24 years. It's very interesting to me when you mention about reducing your programs from 4 years to 3 years. Just like to explore further your ideas on on that point. I was an apprentice engineer myself in the UK, and from my experience, I really learned a lot, especially hands-on during that time. But the problem, I think you may know that in the UK, they previously they exercise or they implement a lot of apprenticeship in companies, in the industry. And I may be coming from that kind of training, but the problem with apprenticeship is that they may lack the academic fundamentals. So I think ideally in educating or producing engineers, especially for industry, you need kind of a specialized, customized teaching for even individuals or maybe specific industry or companies. But I think that is inefficient because customizing means a lot more investment.
Yeah.
So, but I think the way that we can do this, as what you are suggesting here, is very interesting. I was also a UTM lecturer in aeronautics for about 5 years. That was very much early on in my career. By the way, I'm now the CTO in Angkasa X. You mentioned just now about Angkasa X. And I also run my own company, Mercu Tekun. So I think it's interesting again what you're suggesting. But from an academic standpoint, I understand also that universities tend to like to teach everything fundamental, and they believe that students need to have very strong fundamentals before they can proceed on to other specialization. So this way, I think we need to merge the ideas where perhaps university can have programs where in trying to customize those students, they need to tone down on the fundamentals and allow the specific fundamentals being taught or being learned by the students on a need basis.
Yep.
Because, for example, if I'm teaching or I want an engineer to be to grow as a spacecraft attitude control engineer, I may not want him to learn much about structure, but I want him to learn more about him or her, that is, to learn more about control systems, control theories, control engineering.
Great.
So I'd like to hear your ideas on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, what you mentioned just now was what we call as front loading, in the sense that you load students with as many things as possible so that they can end up either an engineer or a researcher. So as you mentioned, we're trying to be a bit more pragmatic in the sense that we want to tone that down somewhat and be a bit more custom made. One of the And then for that to happen, there are a number of cultures that we have to address. One is that the 4,000 students that we receive, they come from various backgrounds. It's not a homogeneous raw material, right? So we have the T20s, M40s, and English, and whatnot, English proficiency. Second, from the academia, they have to, again, shift to become, from this front loading, I'm going to teach you everything, to I'm just going to make sure that you are directed in the right way. And the third, of course, in the middle there is the technology, whatever that we put online and this micro-credential. During COVID, students go with 100% course assessment. There's no more exam. Now we can build on that, because at the end of the day, if you might want to have, you might want to gauge how good a student is, but in most cases, if they can manage that, if they are competent enough, you know that with training, they become better. So do we still go on CGPA system, which was introduced back in 1960s? Or do we go with, we find with certain non-fundamental ones to go with pass or fail, or this experiential point? But again, we are actually hitting quite a number of very ingrained culture that has been done for the past 20, 30 years. But the signs are there, and I think, again, as you mentioned, with regards to micro-credential, more and more of our courses are now being put online. One of our schools, School of Management, has a 3.5 years undergraduate course fully on micro-credential and also ODL, which means that it actually opens up lots of doors, and they're actually working with QSR, people who supply us with KFC. So we want to see more and more in that. In terms of aerospace, it's the youngest school in engineering, but it's completely aligned. The Dean of Aerospace was recently appointed as a professor, full professor. That's to acknowledge his contribution to the school. And I think we think that they are in the right direction because they are involved in a lot for industries, and we expect to see next 2 to 3 years this thing about students can pick and choose will be fully implemented, inshallah. And that would be the exciting. That will be exciting times for us, at least, and we can actually increase our number of students without actually increasing the cost per student because of use of technology and also in terms of customization. Thank you so much. We're moving towards that, but it is extremely difficult. Okay, so any more? Cik Azam.
Boleh saya mula dulu? Can I take? Yeah. Assalamualaikum. Good morning. My name is Nur Azam. But it's really exciting to see this platform, the merging, probably the blending between the industry and the education area. I would like to take the opportunity to share my thinking between these two areas. So, 1978, my first year in USM doing electronic at that time, I was given a scholarship by National Semiconductor. But just want to add on what I think somebody read from Nestle just now, probably Encik Azman, is it?
Osman.
So, Osman. Yeah, so it is really true that when in the first year, when I was doing electronic, I was given the chance, even the first semester holiday, I stay in the hostel and I go and work in National Semiconductor. And almost every semester holiday, I was given a chance to go into the company and really understand the company. And it's really exciting while I'm trying to learn the first year what electronic really is, because my interest in 1978 was more related to HBP. So I'm interested in making the building, and I begin to see what electronic is. Because at that time, electronic is really alien. That was almost many, many years ago. And it's true enough, you got to find a way to give the exposure of the industry to these students. But there is a limiting factor because the industry will focus on working. So the industry cannot afford to spend the time to train these young students, first year, second year, third year, and fourth year, because the industry want to focus on the business. But truly enough, the value that I got when I went into National Semiconductor after I graduated, just the first year, I was given the chance to go to US for 6 months at that time to bring, which is not really a fab, it's only a bump fab. National Semiconductor brought in bump fab, and one of the first at that time to bring the bump fab into Penang. But it's only about after 1 year, because the few semester holiday already initiate the understanding. So that understanding, they want to bring fresh. So they bring me into the US for 6 months to bring. But what I would like to share is that it's true enough. If this student can enter into the industry early, they see the industry, they actually go back into the education and study, they're able to correlate and think much more faster and create more value for the industry. Okay, that's all. The next one would be like today. Maybe physically for the student to go into industry might not be possible or a constraint to the industry. The HR are very busy. They cannot provide this kind of platform. But I think with the new technology that we have today, I'm calling for the industry, please help the university, do some investment in university to develop this kind of lab, metaverse lab, 3D lab, okay, where the student can still see the structure of the industry, communicate with some of the talent in industry, like say for example, Robert Bosch, but the student can still interact with the engineer from German through the metaverse, through the 3D, AR concept. So In that way, the student really can interact and really can see the industry. And probably this is the opportunity where the industry learn from the university how to teach their workers by using the virtual concept, which is a much more faster way to educate them rather just a straight face-to-face classroom. Because you can create a simulation, you can file in, you can keep the simulation in terms of a 3D, like say 5S, for example. So you can develop, as the new engineer coming in, the new engineer can easily understand and they involve themselves in this 3D learning about what 5S is. At the same time, collaborate with university. So what I'm sharing here is that there is an opportunity to develop this virtual practical learning capabilities between the universities and the industry. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jazam. One of our school of call it PTPM has the facilities to develop this metaverse universe, if you like. They have developed at least one or two. So yeah, I mean, we have the capability to develop to mimic your industry situation. Of course, they have to access using VR and VR head gears and whatnot. So, and then so I think sorry.
Oh, may I get this through because I'm hanging on to a microphone. I need to pass it back. Okay, can I get the questions out first? So because I need to hand over the microphone.
Oh,
no, sorry about that.
The gentleman here has been waiting for quite some time.
So was I.
Oh, okay.
All right, okay, thank you. Apologies for that. So, Assalamualaikum, a very good morning. I'm Rahmat of Shaw's Innovation. But I also at one point in time knew our Prof. Dato' as Abang Rafiq.
Rahmat Shazi, kan?
Yes, that's me.
Oh, he's an old-time friend of
Yeah.
mine.
But I can tell you this, when he was an undergraduate, you could hear the leadership coming through his words. So it's a pleasure to actually see you on stage again, Dato', to actually hear your thoughts on how to bring USM forward. And I also come from a very unique angle, just like IR Nur Hizam, because I used to be a lecturer. First 15 years of my life, of my career was actually in academia, and then I went into industry. Then I realized what industry was not telling academia. Let me reiterate that. We are not telling academia the things that we need. So let me just highlight the three items. The three items that I have, they are interconnected. They are innovation, high value add, and social governance. It's not about social and governance, it's really social governance. But let me get through those particular items. Talking about innovation, we're really talking about high value add activities, where we need the graduates, the undergraduates, to tell us, boss, what you have right now is good, here's something better. They need to take ownership of those particular ideas. We're not giving those opportunities. Part of the reason is because a lot of our industries are, I think we have to admit to this, we are low value add. We follow other people's IP. Universities are producing those IPs, but we don't care. Because, hey, we're only interested in making money. Yes, that's low value add. So a suggestion to Dato', we focus on high value add industries, which would then force industries to actually look at the appetite of investment. Are we going to invest into low value industries again, where we just buy other people's instructions, or we're going to get USM to tell us, okay, USM, what do we do next? We have to actually shift. We are not shifting. I'm not seeing that particular shift, and I can mention that especially in a lot of the other industries. One industry that is shifting is aerospace, because it is an industry, because the industry itself requires those who produce the devices to introduce their own IP. Yeah, so we need to actually shift into that. And definition of innovation. This is for universities. Innovation is those novel ideas that you have actually adapted or adopted by end users. It's not about, yeah, we won a medal. Yeah, we won a medal here at Geneva. Here's our innovation. Apologies, it is not an innovation. Itu bukan inovasi, itu masih inovasi. Yeah. Okay, talking about quality graduates or shifting to high value add, what do we need to do? We need to actually teach our graduates the cognitive skills. And from our work, retraining, reskilling graduates, they have it. Our university graduates have it. USM graduates have it. What they don't have, the multitude of skill sets, but if you were to ask me the three top skill sets, cognition is there. Second is paralanguage. They need to understand how we talk. Yes? We don't teach them that. We just bring them in, okay, kau tengok macam mana aku cakap, kau tengok macam mana aku present. That's it. We don't actually teach them about word selection, sentence selection. And then we don't teach them about communication chemistry. How we observe the other person, whether what they are presenting to read between the lines. We don't teach our graduates that. So these are the 3 skill sets that we need to embed into our delivery at the university as well as in the industry. Now, sad to say, a lot of the industry programs where university staff are sent over, the yardsticks are not aligned to what industry requires. And what happens? I spoke to a number of these lecturers. They said, oh, we spend the time to finish our publications. And they are not required to present to CEOs, whatever you hate. What are the ideas that you've developed? They're not. And those who are, they present academic presentations. They need industry presentations. These are the skill sets that we delivered through ICAP, actually. As a matter of fact, when we delivered that, the director at the time told us, at the time of 2019, this is the first program which was oversubscribed. That tells you that we are not using ICAP properly. ICAP has got a lot of very good programs, but especially with industry input, but we are not sending the participants. Now, talking about social governance, so we really need to take a look at the yardstick. I thought you presented about some of the measures, talking about the social measures over at the university. I have to say, those are good measures, but they are societal measures. They're not social measures. The difference there is very important. In industry, we understand the nuances. We understand, okay, people, who's talking to who? Who's the central person? Who's actually collecting the organization, delivering work? It's not about how many percent, what's the percentage of women. There's no point having 50%, 60% of women in the board if nobody listens to them. The societal measures matter. And that's what we have to measure. Yeah, in particular industry. And then talking about publication, let me just end here. Last year, we did some analysis for UNESCO to identify research impact. What we discovered was that a lot of our publications, Malaysian universities, including USM, I mean, they reach out. People go through, people cite and whatever you, but guess what? A lot of those inputs, because it's already been published, you can't really protect them. They've been picked up by other countries, industries in other countries, and they've integrated those into their products. And we are not measuring that particular impact. So in other words, there is research impact, but because we don't measure, we don't know. What we don't measure, we can't manage. Wallahu a'lam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rahmat. These are fantastic points. I'd like to add that this is one of the things that I mentioned to my academics as well, in the sense that we can measure in terms of our productivity under normal terms. But if you were to ask me, how do you measure the impact of USM for Penang, for example, or for the country? It is more difficult to do that, extremely more difficult. And we don't know what kind of proxy are we looking at. So we developed this thing called social progress assessment, where we actually convert any progress in terms of social progress into monetary terms. And we're trying to test that so that, in the next, perhaps 1 or 2 years' time, I can actually report that, last year, we've impacted the country in this and that, for example, right? And again, as you mentioned, these are all pertinent points. Thank you so much. We'll take on board that. But also, again, there's something that I'd like to also share with everyone is that we are at the final stage of educating someone, which means that when, kids have been spending years in the school program. So we sometimes people want us to fix so many ingrained weaknesses within that 4 years. So this is something that I think we have to realize as well. Is trying to balance all those elements. Can I have the gentleman here who's been waiting for something? Thank you. And then we'll go to Ho Kui. Yeah. Sorry. After that. Okay.
Good morning.
Hi.
My name is Go Tek Chong. I'm the ICAP for School of Civil Engineering. And I just want to share my experience. Well, my company is a consulting firm, and we have engaged, or we have taken a lot of USM students, especially civil engineering, mechanical, and electrical. And our findings are the graduates are performers. They are good through my experience. And during my ICAP meeting with the faculty staff, I was telling them that please produce more. Please produce more quality graduates so that the industry will benefit. Actually, at the present moment, the industry, especially in Penang, you can see that there are so many new factories coming up, and there will be a shortage of engineers. I'm talking about engineering only, not other faculties. So please produce more. And another point of improvement is we see that a lot of industry members here talking about collaboration or want the students to gain involvement with the industries. So guest speakers from the industries will be very good. I think so. The School of Engineering is doing that. And the other thing is the internship. I know that the internship by the Board of Engineers or EAC, minimum 8 weeks. But I seriously hope that USM can look into allowing your students to attend more than 8 weeks. Because when I speak to some of the industry players, they say that the internship will really benefit the students. And also, the feedback from the students when they finish the internship, they want more. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goh. Thank you so much. I think the deans are here. I think I've also been pushing for 8 weeks plus 6 month kind of internship. I think it can be done. It's just a matter of whether we have the will or not. But I think the deans are here. We heard what the industry said, so I think we have to really push this.
Thank you very much. My name is Imran. I'm probably one of the longest serving ICAP member because I started as an IAP member way back in 2008 by virtue of being the director of talent in MDAC.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
I work very closely with your IT faculty till today, and I'm still willing to share my experience and whatever not. So it is interesting to see the achievement that has been made and so forth, and then the support that USM is getting from the industry. So I strongly believe for students to be coming out and going into the industry as to be employable, there's a saying that it takes two to tango. You know, it is not just what the university can do, but also what the industry can also contribute together. But by virtue of looking at all those people here, I think the industry is always ready to help, to mold the right graduates that they need. Because at the end of the day, if you produce, I saw your employability rate is 90%, which is good. Okay, but at the same time, I'm also concerned in terms of whether they are underemployed and whatever not. I think that is one data which I don't know, until today the ministry is struggling to get, which the data is, I believe, is available right in front. Okay, so, but saying all that, I think one of the key issues that I always see when we talk about students not being able to get a job with the industry is also like some of the skill sets mentioned about communication and so forth. I think they need to know what is the industry trend beyond what is being taught at the university or what they know on the surface of the industry. So in today's environment, when we talk about future of work in terms of creating good quality talent, okay, the three trends that's very, very important today, or already we are embracing, is what we call, the first one is remote working. You know, everybody talks about remote working today, whether hybrid or no hybrid, that depends on the industry and the nature of work, but that is one trend. Second is about the digital channel. See, many of us today, we are also engrossed with the media platforms and so forth. So this is also an avenue which the students need to be fully aware of. Okay, this is another trend that is very, very important. And the third one is automation. Whether you like it or not, every job today is driven by technology. And then it is moving further advanced, and now automation come into play. I used to support a lot of work on the global business services. shared services and so forth, which in the past, everybody talked about GBS, call center and so forth. Now we are talking about robotic process automation, whereby a lot of AI technologies are involved, where the students need to be educated in this aspect of work, because with the robotic process automation, these are all very high-end, high-value jobs. So these are the three key trends I think the university also the lecturers need to be aware of. And I always encourage university lecturers to be also immersed in the industry as much as possible. Not just looking at sabbatical training. Don't just wait for when there is a sabbatical opportunity, go and get the exposure. No, I think the industries are ever willing to accommodate lecturers. And like what you also mentioned about, I think somebody mentioned about universities being used for R&D work, which I think you mentioned about the university's budget, billions of ringgit. There's a lot of investment made, not only on the people, on the equipment and whatever not. It is already there. If you go and ask an SME, the biggest challenge they have to automate is they don't have money to invest on equipment. But if the university already have all these technologies, if your lecturers can also immerse with the industry, and the students will gain experience and exposure, the right exposure that you need. I think these are all the fundamental things that I think need to be also looked into to ensure that we're going to produce good quality graduates. Because and another thing I want to ask, the last point is about, I think we always hear about MITI doing a lot of press releases about investments. So I know in Penang, I think you also mentioned Intel expanding and so forth. There are many, all the companies are expanding. But what is the biggest bottleneck? It is not about investing on equipment and so forth. It is about having the right people to support the business. Because that is for me, that is the key thing, that is the keystone to ensure the growth happens. If we are not producing the right quality talent, it's not going to work. So I would like to suggest that since all the information about the investments coming in, Intel, Infineon, whatever, they already have the numbers, they already have a milestone in terms of the expansion, how many people they need. Why don't that information is used whereby you can go and approach the industry? How can we map up a manpower plan to suit that expansion plan? A lot of expansions are not realized because we can't manage to get the right quality talent that we need. So if it's projected 10,000, by year 3 we ask, so we are only able to manage about 7,000. Why? It's because the pipeline of talent is not matching with that targeted expansion. So this is one thing I would like to suggest. I don't know whether MITI people are here also. So probably we can work together on that manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Imran. In the past 2 years, I think electronics have increased their number of spaces by 50%, and we're aiming to double that number in the next 1 or 2 years. And I think a number of courses as well have increased in terms of numbers. But I think these are all fair comments. By the way, in terms of graduate employability, as I said, we are still waiting for the raw data from KPT. We had that exercise where we mapped out our students. That's why we know that at least in 2020, 40% of our students are not working within the area of their expertise, and I think probably about 50%, 1 in every 2 are underemployed. So that is worrying. That is saying something about, again, the quality of our program, perhaps. And the pressure is, as you said, the pressure is on us to make sure that that number is reduced so that people are not underemployed and also working in the area that they are trained in. Thank you again. Hukui?
Okay. Hello, morning. My name is Hukui from CRES, one of the ICAP member from INOR. Good morning, everyone, and thanks, Prof. Dato, for the sharing. So during your sharing, you keep mentioning about the investment. Just now, that gentleman also mentioned about the investment. So I think this is one of the hot topic, right, especially in the northern region with all the MNC companies expanding and keep on investment coming into Penang. So this cross come into my mind that with two items. So one item is about the potential problem that the northern region were facing. So that is about the talent. So talent pipeline has been a charter from university to continue to build up. The other way I'm seeing it is the fighting the talent between the industry and academia. The reason I highlighted this because with the engagement with the lab that I'm working on, so there are certain skill set of people, right, has been hired by the industry, and that's very hard. We need to take time to build up that type of expertise. So and furthermore, some of the person who have that knowledge actually is in the contract. So which means it's under a contract employment by the USM. So hence, when there's an offer from the MNC with a more secure and permanent job, hence that is why that people move to the industry. So the key thing that I want to highlight is from university standpoint, you may need to think about what are the skill set needed, and you may need to keep certain resource or that talent right in the university to continue to build out the talent pipeline. So you are fighting with the industry. So that's one of the things I think in my mind. And second is about I'm seeing is opportunity. With all the E&E industry in the northern region, one of the things that they may need is the shared service. Because with all their production, I think with the limitation of the lab, which is take time, if they can come to USM, which is close to them, because USM always in the best with the proximity. This is an advantage to the industry. And if you can have a shared service lab, a centralized lab in USM to provide the service to industry, that would be great. Because if you look at it, I think some of the problems that you may face by your side or the dean of the school is to how to maintain the equipment. If you look at all the grant in the Malaysia, right, there are no such item for maintenance. Every time I ask you to buy a new equipment, then all the lecturer or even all the school of dean will throughout maybe the year, right, they have to look at the budget, how to maintain the equipment. So if university can think about that, long-term wise, you can have a centralized lab, then put all the equipment that needed by the E&E, then have a lab manager to maintain that and provide that type of service. And E&E will be very happy that they can access to the lab to have that service. And the other way is to generate the income, right, for the university as well. On top of that, right, you talk about the internship or any of the industry engagement. If the lab is operating well, that lab will provide the internship or the training base, right, for the industry as well. So wishing your students have the opportunity to be the person who run the equipment, and especially like some of the characterization tools, right, like SAM, FESAM, right, if they know that skill set, right, actually it's a very powerful skill set, the industry will hire them. So that's why I'm thinking about that another opportunity for USM to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may respond to, okay. Yes, we are opening our doors to all industries when it comes to the equipment that we have. A bit more on our financial performance. Actually, we do have a large budget of 1.3 billion, although about 80% of that goes to salaries. And the rest we have to come up with for the purpose of running this university, the OPEX. So what we did was we tried to increase our revenue, because the government policy is that they will no longer cover our operational expenditures. And I think we've done somewhat well in that sense. We created quite a lot of income, but at the same time, we're seeing a roaring trend in terms of the growth, in terms of medical bills, and a number of things as well. So it's a zero-sum game, and we're not wired to be a for-profit organization, but we're changing that. And one of the things that we are also pushing is the policy of outsourcing, meaning to say, if we have from where I stand, if you can actually unite all the test and measurement equipment and actually appoint a third party to run that at commercial rate and open slots for our students, that will work better. Because to us academics to go and find markets, it's not part of their, they're not wired that way as well. So outsourcing. We've outsourced our gym operations. We've outsourced quite a number of our sports operation. Now we are trying to push it a notch further, which is to outsource some of our space and some of our equipment as well. So yeah, this is for the next 1 or 2 years. But in the meantime, our doors are open. Our School of Aerospace developed their own drones. And one of the projects that they've done is to develop a missile-carrying drone. And I control the missile. So if there's any lab that is not open to you, let me know. That we can send the drone and the missile as well. Okay, so next.
So pardon me, are we good to go with one last question, Dato'?
One last question?
One last question.
Perhaps two?
Perhaps two, all right.
Perhaps two,
Awesome.
okay. All right.
Okay, Jaria from NCIA. I used to work at AMD. Okay, I do not want to talk about too much of the talent because I think much has been said about the talent. But what we can see is that if you have an opportunity to improve further your cross-functional between the faculties and the schools. For example, let's say we have an outsourcing issue just now, talking about maintenance. You have a school, mechanical engineering, why can't they be trained to be able to do that shared service? I mean, this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, the other one is that engineers, to some level, sometimes they do not go into research. The market research is not done correctly. Why don't you source it to your business school? So interpersonal within you yourself is able to support, because do not work in silos, but you have other people within the faculty to be able, within the schools, within the USMs itself, to be able to do that. So it becomes an industry within the school, within USM.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it I just want to say.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
Again, this is why we elevate the research capabilities of all academics so that they can talk sense among each other. Before I forget as well, despite our financial predicaments, USM in the past 3 years have actually spent a special budget on improving our facilities, including our test and measurement equipment. I think in the past 3 years, we've committed or spent about close to 35 million ringgit to make sure that some of the critical equipment are well maintained and also to open up doors for other experiments as well. Again, it has to be balanced between the income that we get and also how we manage our expenditure. In the past 3 years, we've actually saved 98 million from our operations, and we've created at least 50 million in terms of new income. Unfortunately, if you look at the public sector, everyone get automatic annual increment, about 5%, and that alone is going to cost us about 20 odd million. So it's an extremely difficult struggle at this point of time. But again, we appreciate the support and also the contributions from the industries. Puan Azian?
Good morning. I'm Azian Wahab from NI Malaysia. My question to you, Prof, is on diversity. I saw good numbers over there. You know, the numbers is just the data right now that I see. Question that I have is along the line of engineering. You know, we in the industry always looking at hiring for diversity, especially in gender diversity, as well as trying to balance the ethnicity within the industry, you know, ourselves. And what we are having, you know, the challenges right now is trying to hire more women in engineering into industry, right? And whenever we go for interview sessions, you know, we do have a lot of challenges to get the ladies to come in and attend interviews. But when I saw the numbers, right, you actually have more female, you know, students compared to the male, but I'm not really sure what the ratio is in engineering school. What can we do to help you? So from the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Puan. Thank you. I think to answer your question, the university average is about 65% female, 35% male. But the average in engineering is about 50-50, split halfway. You are right in the sense that these are numbers, they are statistics, and what what we're doing now is basically to push the conversation, to make it a culture in USM where diversity comes first whenever we want to do hiring, or even in terms of programs that we do. I don't have the answer for that at this point of time. As I said, we've just taken on board this conversation with regards to diversity. One of the things that we don't have the data which we want to find is how many of our students are the first in their family to pursue a degree, what we call a sulung. Because that sulung plus the fact that it comes from a B40 or B1 family, I think these are the things that we must address at the beginning. Because we found that although our number says that 70% of our students who graduate with 3.5 are from the B40, we have no idea in terms of what kind of value that we give them. And I think there is still this dominant inferiority complex among the female candidates, especially from that demography. So this is again why we introduced this live program, to force people to go outside their comfort zone and actually to start early. This sort of conversation has only been taking place in USM for the past 2 years. These are not comfortable conversations, but we are facing that head on. And I think, if you ask me in terms of support, I think more support in terms of giving them that grit, that perseverance, that fighting spirit, that confidence is required. I posed the question to my staff, are we in the business of taking weak students, weak not just in academia, weak background, and in 4 years bringing them to become acceptable level of students? Or are we in the business of taking only good students and bringing them, far? We don't want to be elitist in that sense, So again, but we need to put in a lot of intervention. One of the things that I think we are very lacking behind is in terms of engagement as well, the true sense of engagement. We look at the way programs are structured, online basis. If academia are just happy just to deliver courses without actually engaging with students, then that is a problem. So moving forward, again, our policy is that we have a policy that says no meeting on Fridays, to be honest with you, so that we can have more engagement between staff and student as well, although it's not religiously enforced. And when we say no meeting on Fridays, some people will take it as no work on Fridays as well. So, so we're adjusting, but I think key to that is engagement and providing platform. And I think industries can come in, talk to young ladies and say, you can fly, there are some examples there, and so on and so forth. I think this is happening. And our president of our Wakil Pelajar MPP is a female, probably the first in USM, betul? Siti Faiza. So that's a start as well. So it goes not just among staff, also among students as well. So hopefully that augurs well with this ongoing thing about diversity. As you mentioned as well, we want to go beyond gender. We want to make sure that ethnicity balance. In that sense, we look at the top management. Our students, 64% are Malays, 20% are Chinese, which is not representing the population breakdown, and about 10% are Indians, which is higher than the population breakdown. And we have from Sabah and Sarawak 5%, orang asli 0.1%, and others 1%. We're not doing very well in terms of, we have about 25 ethnicities, and we want to increase that. And yes, I think by employing an orang asli as a dekan and also international staff as a dean, it poses a lot of challenges, especially for the international staff, because Bahasa Melayu is still our official language. But as an institution, we have to face all this head on, and hopefully we can see more diversity in that sense. I think that's it for Q&A. I think we will have some...
Can I say something?
Oh, okay.
Can I have a last...
Okay, the last two.
Thank you, Dr. Faisal, for allowing me to say something.
Sure. Sorry, you are? Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Ramli Ibrahim. I'm from Sutra Foundation, based in Kuala Lumpur.
The famous performer.
I must say that the last time I saw your chairman, who is not here, was in Washington when we were performing at the Kennedy Center, and he was ambassador. But I remembered coming here, performing for the first time when I returned back to Malaysia in 1983, and the Vice Chancellor was Tan Sri Kamal Saleh, and I was performing at Panggung Sasaran then. And that was a time when USM was well known for its arts and culture activities. And it is really something that I feel that we are missing at the moment. And I'm talking also, to a certain extent, the disenfranchised situation with artists and the disconnection with regards to artists, academia, and bureaucrats. And I feel that USM has a role to play in bridging this gap. I think that artists are charting their own path because they felt that the creativity, the impulse of creativity are actually with individuals, and the institutionalization of arts has actually diminished that kind of power of the arts. So this is the kind of thing that I think the engagement of society and artists is important. And I feel that one of the major problems of the nation is the fact that they are busy consuming carbohydrates and proteins and not enough trace elements and vitamins, which is what the arts and culture is about. And the more digitalized you all are, the more important the human aspect, which artists and culture represents. So I think that you need to work a bit more in bringing up this creativity. You knock many doors, but one of the major doors of creativity to instigate the other doors to be open is through arts and culture. And talking about that, my board of trustees is Tan Sri Mazlan. Osman is one of our great
scientist,
astrophysicist.
Yep.
And she talks about, and she has also her own pet project of arts and science. And I think this is important, and especially now because we are only talking about this KPI of quantities and profits and what you achieve, and all the time you are really third hand in doing that. And I think that please bring back again the glory days of USM when arts and culture is part of the community of USM.
Thank you. If I can, thank you so much. This is an excellent point. This is what we're doing here. So I'm sure I've not mentioned that explicitly, but in terms of live program, there's a healthy involvement of the arts. In the past 2 years, USM has been pushing this agenda of empowering. So in 2021, for example, we did an experiment where we say, we don't set your KPI. You set your own. So if you think that you are passionate about teaching or performing arts, you do what you are passionate in, but you do it excellently because you're going to contribute to the university's overall performance. We've opened an outlet in Georgetown. We call it Create at USM. We're actually renting the U UAB or UOB building across the income tax, simply to be part of the conversation with the art scene in Greater Penang. And I think both the School of the Performing Arts and also the School of the Arts and also the museum, we've actually given lots of funding in the past 2 years to make sure that, again, that is part of the USM. And I think midlife will also have that instilling of the arts as well. So yeah, we understand the importance, and we try to be as supportive as possible. Thank you. So one last question, perhaps. Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Diana Baharudin. I'm a practicing quantity surveyor. I would like to just say a few words about your QS program. Thanks very much to my learned friends from the QS program for nominating me as IAP. It's my first time here, but I have been sitting in many committees in the Board of Quantity Surveyors and also the Royal Institution of Surveyors Malaysia with them. They are very committed and very passionate about quantity surveying, and they're really doing a good job. I would like to put in a good word that they will be hosting the RISM, International Surveyors Undergraduate Conference in April. So I hope that the university will support them, and also the institution, because the institution and also the board plays a very important role in accrediting your courses and also in ensuring that your students come from accredited university. So I'm also the Deputy President of the Royal Institution of Surveyors Malaysia, and we look forward to working more with the learned academicians from USM. Thank you.
Thank you. I think with that ends the question and answer. Of course, we have an engagement session later where you rub shoulders with the middle management, the deans, and also some of my top management. On behalf of USM, again, I think today we received quite a lot of extremely insightful feedback and also suggestions. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for your time, for ICAP, and also for this particular session. I hope and pray that USM continue to progress, and again, with continuous support from industry, I think we can do lots more, and I'll take whatever suggestions that have been raised here so that we can actually improve, and hopefully in the next 1 or 2 years when we have another ICAP, then there are more to be reported, and again, more on social impact and diversity and social governance, and things that show that USM is very connected to nation building. It's not just measuring measures that tend to be somewhat self-serving, and eventually, hopefully our students, at the end of the day, it's all about our students, both international and locals, and hopefully they become extremely good citizens and also product of USM. Thank you so much again. You've been very kind. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi and salam sejahtera.
A very warm round of applause for the man of the show. Thank you so much, Dato. With due respect, when I mean that I need you ever, I still need you in the spotlight. So I hope you do not mind to be upstage for just a bit. To mark our gratitude, I would like to invite Yang Berbahagia, Professor Dato IR, Dr. Abdul Rahman Mohamad, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Research and Innovation, accompanied by Dr. Shaizatul Akmal binti Kamalul Arifin, Director of Industry Network, to present a token of appreciation to Yang Berbahagia, Professor Dato Dr. Faisal Rafiq Muhammad Adika. Ladies and gentlemen, the token is a creative masterpiece produced by our very own talented Dr. Shamsu Muhammad, a lecturer from School of the Arts, University Science Malaysia. So allow me to read a bit of the description, the statement of the work. It is a metamorphic, it's a story of nature beneath the earth's surface, roots, earth, rocks, water, caterpillars, worms, microorganisms intertwine and accompany each other, and the intimacy of the nature seems to be clearly united, friendly, and close to one another for the future of tomorrow. So the main material used include two main components, porcelain soil as well as egg tray pulp. with the usage of ETP made of recycled items, it is definitely much more cost effective. So that's it. So thank you so much. A warm round of applause again to our Dato'. Again, today's moments are today's memories, the ones that are worth captured. Let's gather for a quick and safe photo session. I would like to invite all our distinguished guests to occupy the front rows of the seats. Respected DVCs, kindly fill up the second row, and all attendees to join us at the central row, minding your gap. Okay? So it's going to be a very quick cooperative photo session, so I hope everyone can move closer to the central row, but still minding your gap though. My respected DVCs on the second row and all the VVIPs can join Dato' up forward.